Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Beauty School Bobby podcast. Today, I am here with a guest, and I actually don't think I've had a psychologist on the episode before. So I'm really excited to talk to Dr. Jessica Borushok today. Welcome to the show, Jessica.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So we have been connected through America's Beauty Show, and I am really, really excited for some of the classes that you're going to be teaching at America's Beauty Show this year. So tell us a little bit about how you were introduced to the beauty industry.
Yeah, so it first started off, I work remotely and I see clients all over the US. And I've had a number of clients who are, beauty professionals. And they've talked to me so much about not only their work, the politics of working at a salon and managing all of that kind of stuff. And then also kind of being pseudo therapists to their clients in the similar way that, I do. And then like bartenders and that sort of thing of, you're the front line to learning about people's lives. And then through a small world series of events, I got connected to someone through America's Beauty Show because I am an alumni of the same place that they were. And they were already thinking about bringing in a psychologist because so many beauty professionals had talked to them about their own personal mental health struggles, as well as kind of being trauma dumped on at times by their clients.
Yeah. So what was that like when you started making that connection? Because we say it all the time. If I am in admissions and I'm meeting with somebody and they're like, yeah, I actually was thinking about going to school to be a therapist or whatever. I'm like, we always say, we're like, oh my gosh, like you'll get it here and you'll get to hear all of it. What is your opinion of that? Like, what were you thinking when you kind of started putting those pieces together, not being in the beauty industry? I know that like I'm sure that you're like, this is different. This is a little weird.
Well, everyone always talks about it with like bartenders of, someone's having a bad day, they go to get a drink and it makes sense. But
Mhm.
I remember talking to my hairstylist and hearing her talk about the experiences that she had and the people that were sharing their lives with them. And it makes sense. It's usually a very long standing relationship. Maybe you see that person every 2 to 3 months, but you could see them for your entire career. You grow and change with them. You kind of have to pass the time. So it makes sense that it's an environment that people would simply share about their lives, both the good, bad, and ugly.
What's advice that you give to stylists when you're speaking with them? Like, what are the things that you kind of share to help prepare them a little bit more?
Honestly, it's the same advice I give to other therapists when I see them as clients, which is making sure that you are taking care of yourself and your mental health and kind of protecting your peace, because you can obviously set some boundaries with clients in terms of what you feel comfortable sharing about your own life, or maybe learning some tips and tricks for changing the subject, or giving kind of a very PC response to some of the difficult things they're talking about. But there is going to be some stuff that comes through, some things that people share with you. Maybe you work with clients through different life transitions. Maybe you did their hair when they got married and now they're going through a nasty divorce and you're a part of that journey. And if you don't have a very clear division between work and home life, and you're not taking care of your own mental health, it is going to impact your work. I mean, how could it not?
Yes. And that's so real. And I think just so validating hearing it from a professional to be like, yeah, this is a real thing that, that happens. And, my wheels are turning right now thinking about how we can better prepare our students in school for that. So I know a bunch of our students are coming up for the beauty show. So talk to me a little bit about what the classes are going to look like, what the content's going to be, and what you're going to be teaching at America's Beauty Show.
Yeah, I am so excited for this. So I am doing a 1 hour workshop each day of America's Beauty Show. So Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And the whole theme of my workshop is basically protecting your mental health while serving others. The type of therapy that I do is called acceptance and commitment therapy, and it is really focused on understanding what are these patterns that we get into? Maybe patterns of responding to thoughts, feelings, memories, physical sensations that worked for us at one point in our lives, but just aren't serving us anymore. And we're finding ourselves getting really stuck, frustrated, having those kind of hopeless, helpless kind of feelings, which, if you've ever been there, is just an awful place to be in.
Mhm.
My hope for these workshops is that they are very interactive. So I want everyone who attends to really think and reflect on what they're struggling with. And obviously, folks can share to the extent that they feel comfortable, but we're really going to walk through using people's own personal experiences. What are the barriers to showing up as the type of professional you want to be, the type of person that you want to be in your life? I mean, being in the beauty industry is difficult. You're an expert, you're an entrepreneur, you're like a little bit of everything, but it's also an opportunity to be a part of the best experiences in people's lives. And I'd really love to help the students and folks who are coming to the workshop learn how to kind of step into that more authentic, romanticized version of their life, both in their work with clients and in their personal lives.
Yes. Okay. And tell me a bit more about this therapy. So, what is the basis of all of that for somebody that has not been through this? What does that look like?
Yeah. So ACT takes the perspective that it's not necessarily the thoughts and feelings that we have that are wrong or bad, but more how we respond to them. Other therapies, let's say cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT, which is the one people are most familiar with, takes this idea that if you're having a thought like, oh, I hate it here, and the goal is to bring that thought more into alignment with reality. But sometimes you're just having a really bad day. Sometimes life just really sucks, or you're at a salon that you hate, or you're feeling very frustrated because you're not serving the clients that you want to be helping. And instead of feeling like I can only live a good life if these circumstances change, it's helping us show up in the moment and say, okay, I am struggling for whatever reason. And these thoughts that are popping into my head telling me nothing will ever change, or I just got to suck it up. This is the way that it is, or anxiety that's showing up. How do we learn to respond to that in a different way? A lot of times when these thoughts come up and they're very heavy, we kind of buy into them as if they're the truth. It's like, okay, well, yep, I guess this is my life and nothing's ever going to change. And so instead, we're learning, how can I get a little bit of space from that? How can I learn to go, okay, my mind's being my number one bully right now, and they're not supporting me, not helping me in this moment. How can I learn to get a little space, a little breathing room from that so that I can turn towards what really matters to me? So if we were to take a step back, ACT is really noticing, what is my full experience, both what's happening inside of me and then how do I interact with the world? Developing tools and skills for you to have more control over how you're showing up instead of just reacting to the thoughts and feelings that show up. And then identifying, well, what are your values? What are the things that are really meaningful to you that you want to use as your compass for guiding how you live your life, and really building tools and practices to move in that direction?
Yeah. Well, I think that that's definitely something that I don't know that like industry wide has been like explained to us.
Mhm.
I think that that's so great to be given these tools, and I think that everybody wants to show up better. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure from the people that you've worked in this within this industry, is there's a ton of heart.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of passion and a lot of complicated experiences as well. So I'm so thankful for those tools. And I think, like you said, I'm really excited that we're having this conversation prior to the classes. I mean, obviously, this will be helpful to know what's going on, but also like to know kind of what to show up with so that the class, so that you can really get the
Mhm.
most from the class. And I like that you had said that it's each class will be different based on who's in that room. I think that that's so special. Like, I think it's really cool because people could come to literally each day and
Mhm.
it be a different class. So what are you with never have like being at a hair, this will be your first hair show,
Oh,
right? Like,
absolutely. Yes, I've
okay.
never been to anything like this before.
So what is your like idea of it? Like, what are you expecting from America's Beauty Show?
I mean, I've looked on the website and social media and kind of like looked at pictures to figure out like, all right, what are people wearing and
Yeah.
all of that kind of thing. But from what I gather, one, it's just community building. It's coming
Mhm.
together and really celebrating what you do, being around people who have a similar passion, which I mean, I go to a conference every year for other therapists and it reinvigorates me and gets me inspired to try new things. So my hope is that people come away from America's Beauty Show with that same passion to try a new skill or connect with other people. It seems like a lot of the workshops are really focused on building skills, introducing people to new products, to new practices, and really helping grow and expand. And then also, I don't know, have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, it is so wild. I'm so excited to catch up with you after to hear like what your experience was with it because it's so hard to put into words
Mhm.
of what that room feels like and the energy that is there. I'm sure that you're going to need some time to be like, okay, I need to go in my room and be in like quiet for a second.
Yes.
It is extremely overstimulating, but it's in like
Yeah.
the best way possible.
Well, and I'm hoping that my class helps people take advantage of everything there is to offer because, yes, everything we're working on is going to apply to your life when you go home. But also, I imagine if this is your first time coming to America's Beauty Show and you don't really know what to expect, you can probably tend to hold yourself back a little bit, not throw
Mhm.
yourself in and fully connect with people. Maybe you're feeling like you have nothing to offer. And my hope is, especially folks who are coming in maybe the first and second day when they're really new to ABS, that they can feel a little bit more encouraged to show up as their authentic selves, to throw themselves in, and to take advantage of everything that it has to offer.
Yes, for sure. That is definitely like such great advice for coming the first year too, because I think that there is so much to experience. So I love that little piece of advice of everybody being open to what is there. And again, I'm so excited to see like your experience with it too. So I want to go back to some of the things that you're going to cover in your class. So
Mhm.
in this program, is this something that like I know you're going to give some good tools.
Mhm.
Is this something that you would hope would be continued like through a therapist that does kind of similar work that you do after the class?
Absolutely. A lot of times, even I've done this training for therapists before, and they come out of it with an understanding of something maybe they didn't have before, and then a desire to change. Obviously, in a 1 hour class, I'm not going to totally transform your life and fix all of your problems. My hope is to draw your attention to maybe what isn't working as well anymore, what those specific things are, a couple of tips to get you started, but really coming away with a a challenge to start paying attention and noticing when you're getting stuck in these patterns
Mm.
and what you want to be moving towards, because a lot of people are like, I don't know, I want to enjoy my life, but they don't have any further idea of what kind of living your values or living a really authentic life looks like. So
Mhm.
this is just the starting point. And usually, what people will talk about is they come away from a class and all of a sudden they start noticing things they didn't before, or they start catching, like, oh, I really do this, or oh, I tend to avoid this kind of situation that would really benefit me, either personally or professionally. And then hoping that you can take that to a therapist and start working on a more kind of specific, individualized basis to be able to put that into practice.
Yeah. So what are the kinds of things that you think you would be able to kind of work through? I know that you had mentioned like setting some boundaries for some things, coming to the class like just for this like one time. What kind of no, I don't want to say solutions, but
Yeah.
what kind of like, yeah, what kind of solutions do you think that somebody will be able to come away
How
with from
will
that?
you fix my life? Yes. The format of the class, and maybe this will help a little bit to kind of give you an idea, is I have this diagram that I use. It's a very simple but powerful diagram, and it breaks up your experience into these different quadrants. And my hope with the class is that every time I do it, we'll walk through it with the people who are in the room. So it's going to look different every time, and there are going to be different conversations that pop up. But by the end of the class, what I hope people have is an understanding of what is within their control and what isn't. A lot of the time, we spend so much effort worrying about, focused on, getting upset about things that aren't within our control. And that's either what happened in the past, what's going to happen in the future, or what other people are doing.
Mhm.
um, and it really takes our energy and time away from putting focus into what is within our control. So,
Mhm.
really helping to break that down and highlighting for everyone in the class, okay, what have you been spinning your reels about that isn't working?
Yeah.
And what do you want to be moving your efforts towards? So that's part one. The second part is, okay, if you were to try to do that, what's getting in the way? What fears, insecurities, maybe past experiences where you've tried something and it wasn't successful? And how do we create this kind of mindset shift to say, okay, this stuff's still going to show up. Your mind, I like to think of our mind as a threat detection system. It is focused on your survival, not on you thriving in life. So a lot of times it is going to tell us, oh, you shouldn't do that. That's too risky. That's a bad idea. Don't put yourself out there. Your mind wants you to be as boring and average as possible because that's going to kind of keep you alive. But it
Mhm.
kind of runs counter to what maybe your goals are to expand and grow and succeed. And highlighting, okay, well, what are the barriers to that? And hoping that people come away with a little bit more confidence that over time they can create the change that they want to have in their life. And then the third part is getting a little bit more specific around, what do you want that life to look like? I imagine, in school, you learn maybe one or two pathways that people have of what a successful career looks like. And what I've found through my own experience is that there are a lot of ways to have a successful career, and really helping to define, okay, well, what are you drawn to? What is important to you? And then you're at this wonderful place with all this learning and education and connection. Like, how can you take that next step to go out there and take advantage of it?
Yeah, you've said so much. My mind is like spinning over like so many questions because I think there's so much that you brought up that I'm like, yeah, somebody in leadership can struggle with so many of these things, and like you said, of what is in your control and what is not. So I think
Mhm.
that that is something that I think is easier a little bit to learn later in life. I feel
Mhm.
like in your 20s, and most people in, in beauty school, at least in my world, are around that age, right? And
Yeah.
that age is so chaotic because you're still figuring so many things out. Everything feels new and it's the first
Yeah.
time for everything. And then now we know that like there's experience that will help you as you get older. But in leadership and like having that, it's like you're expected to control certain things, right? Like if you're in
Mhm.
a leadership role, salon owner, or even if you own your own salon, if you have an associate that works with you,
Yeah.
you're responsible for them. So it's like you do have to control certain things, but then also there's the other side of it is like, well, you can't control how they're going to react to this
Mhm.
rule that you've implemented, or how they're going to react to the the tough conversation that you've had to have. It's not easy, and I think that like really having these resources of talking through it and being able to walk through it, because when your emotions are in play too, you're just thinking too many things. Like it's too much for somebody to handle.
Absolutely. And I think the values piece and clarifying, like, who do you want to be in these moments? What are the qualities or characteristics that you want to possess? What is the kind of mantra or motto or philosophy that you want to run your salon by is so important, because you're right. people aren't going to like what you have to say sometimes. They're not
Mhm.
going to like the boundaries that you set.
Mhm.
Even thinking about working with clients of if you have a cancellation fee and then you finally, yeah, you told everyone about it and everyone's supportive, and then you finally have to implement it. And all of a sudden you get super anxious and maybe someone's really nasty about it. If you can get very clear on the person that you want to be, how you want to live your life, the type of professional you want to be, maybe the type of salon owner that you want to be, regardless of the outcome, my goal is that you can look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and be proud of how you showed up to that moment. Maybe you didn't get passive aggressive, or you didn't go back on your word and what a boundary you had set. Um, and part of that is coming to a place of acceptance that in order to live a meaningful life, in order to be consistent with who you want to be, you're going to have to sit with some of that discomfort. That
Mhm.
people aren't going to like what you have to say sometimes. Someone's going to think that you're the villain in their story, when really maybe the two of you just aren't the right fit. um, and and that can be really scary because you want to make everyone happy.
Yeah, there's a lot of people pleasing in
Yeah.
this industry. There's a lot of people that just genuinely and from a good place, like
Yeah.
want to help and want to make people feel good. It's like the one thing that unanimously across the board
Yeah.
brings people to this, like whether it's nails or esthetician or
Mhm.
like I just have heard it for the last 12 years of like I just want to
Yeah.
help people. I want to make people feel good. So those are two very different worlds when you have to be the bad guy because it
Mhm.
does not feel good to be the bad guy ever. And like you said, whether you are or not, if somebody's taking it that way, that's a struggle. So I know you said that that's something that you like have to sit with. What are some tips and tricks for those moments when you've had to do the hard thing?
Mhm. So the first is what I had said is be very clear on who you are and who you aren't, or be very clear on what your boundaries are, what you're willing to say yes to, what you're not willing to say yes to, because a lot of people get in trouble when they're constantly changing their mind. They let
Mhm.
something slide for one client or one associate that they don't let for another, and their boundaries get pretty murky. And that's usually when a lot of those really difficult feelings come up, because if you're in this morally gray space, you can convince yourself of anything, that
Mhm.
anything is appropriate or anything is a problem. So, first, getting very clear on, okay, maybe I haven't been as consistent in the past, but moving forward, I'm going to try to stay true to who I am and who I want to be as a professional. And even having it like written down, like what are your rules, or what are your policies, or how you want to communicate with people, so that you can then look back on it after a really difficult interaction and say, okay, but I followed this.
Mhm.
Uh, It didn't go well. And you
Mhm.
can reflect on how you can do better. But the first thing is just being consistent with yourself. The second is taking kind of a growth mindset that as you make these changes, you're going to over and under correct. And you're going to know what that feels like in the moment.
Mhm.
um, and identifying and reflecting from each experience of, okay, what are the specific actions I can change next time to make this go better? And by better, I don't mean everyone's happy, but better, I mean being clear and understanding the other person's perspective and learning how to communicate in a way that um, is respectful and kind and clear.
Yes.
um, yeah.
The making everyone happy is a big thing, and like I
Mhm.
said, it's huge in this industry where we feel like you have to almost put on the mask, like you're taught from the beginning of how to greet people and how to
Mhm.
what like there just are all these things that I really feel like knowing all of this information is so helpful, but I really think like this industry needs this. It needs to be like I don't want to say forgive, but given permission to feel a different way
Yeah.
and do things a little bit differently.
Well, and here's the thing. You mentioned everyone wants people to be happy, right?
Mhm.
It leads to that people pleasing. If
Yes.
you can start with that assumption that my goal is to make everyone happy here. Like, in a perfect world, I would make everyone feel beautiful and
Mhm.
heard and loved and represented and all of that good stuff. It makes it easier to stop yourself from like gaslighting yourself into thinking that you're like a horrible monster for, setting a boundary or telling someone no or whatever it is, of coming back to, if I could find a way to make this person feel heard and understood while also respecting myself, I would have done it.
Mhm.
And there might be times when developing of communication skills or how to be clear, like those are skills to work on. But
Mhm.
coming with that basic foundation of, I am here to help people feel and look amazing, to help them feel confident, to help them feel supported. And if I'm coming from that place, well, I'm not a monster.
Mhm. Yeah, and it can feel like that for sure.
Mhm.
It can definitely feel like that sometimes. What is something that you've seen in the industry or through people that you have worked with, the common theme? Like, is it people pleasing? Is it setting boundaries? Is that the like one thing that you're like, okay, this is what I really want to like fix and like drive home is that?
Yes. So people pleasing and setting boundaries. And this happens between like the beauty professional and the client, as well as like salon and associate, right? So there's kind of these bi-directional relationships. And if we're like general theme, yes, but if we're talking about specific behaviors, a lot of times this comes up from fear and anxiety.
Mhm.
Anxiety around money, anxiety around not being successful, anxiety around like, oh, I need to learn more and do more. At the end of the day, a lot of the things I work with on my clients is finding a schedule that works for you and sticking to it, even if it doesn't work for everyone else.
Mhm.
Um, Figuring out how many people you can see in a row, what kind of hours work for you, what are your requirements of what you must do before and after work to take care of yourself,
Yeah.
so that you can continue to show up at the level that you want. Because a
Mhm.
lot of times, yes, other people are pushing your boundaries, but really you're the one who's violating your own boundaries. You're the one who's
Mhm.
saying, sure, I can fit you in here, even though you're like, no, I said I would not work after this time.
Mhm.
You're the one accepting clients who might not be a good fit, who every time you meet with them, say they want one thing and then are very angry with you. And it's just like, we're not compatible and that's okay. Let me help you find someone else who is.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of times it comes down to really respecting yourself and treating
Mhm.
yourself with kindness.
It's not something that is taught.
Mhm.
And like really like giving yourself that space
Yeah.
is something that I think comes with age and experience. But I'm
Yeah.
really thankful that there are people like you that are doing this work and are able to help people figure it out a little bit sooner. You had mentioned what are some of the things that you do before or after going
Hmm.
into a job like this. So we
Yeah.
know that in this role as a hairstylist for sure, you're typically around a lot of people. And even if you're in like a suite situation, it's like they're showing up for you to entertain now,
Yeah.
right? Like it sometimes can feel like you're like this monkey of like,
Yeah.
okay, you're here in my chair and I'm supposed to entertain you for the next
Yeah.
little bit. Now I know that this whole there's a trend of like silent appointments and asking for that, which is great. Like that's me because I'm talking all the time. I'm like, I just want to sit here and not say anything. What are some tips for coming into that world where there is a lot expected, a lot of a lot of talking, a
Hmm.
lot of thinking, multitasking all day long? What are some things that you suggest?
Yeah. So if we're talking about in the morning, people get a little tired of me talking about this, but it is really important, is give yourself the time in the morning to get into the right headspace to show up to work. Because if
Mhm.
you're running to work, rushing in the morning, you're going to come in with that really high energy and you're going to become exhausted very quickly. And
Mhm.
so a lot of times giving yourself, maybe it's that extra 15 minutes or extra half an hour to have breakfast, sit down, breathe, take the time maybe to do your hair in the way that you want, or learn. I know, like, for example, my hairstylist, has talked to me about feeling very anxious, that like she feels like she has to look a certain way because she's kind of selling a service. And it might
Yeah.
be taking the time to really work on certain hairstyles that are super quick and easy that still look nice, so that you have that time to show up to work. During work, going back to creating that schedule that you want for yourself. The other thing is finding times when you can step away. So if someone's hair is processing, you don't have to be in the room and entertain them the whole time. Like,
Mhm.
you don't have to make an excuse of like, oh, I have to go do lunch, or I have to whatever. It's just like, I'll be back in X amount of time.
Yeah.
Go, and if there is a back room or somewhere, get some noise canceling headphones, set a timer on your phone, and do something that is going to help you recharge. For some people, that's talking to a family member. For another one, it is mindlessly scrolling on your phone if you need to kind of check out in that way. Maybe it's working on your business to feel like you are, growing and expanding in that kind of way, but taking advantage of those opportunities, potentially building in breaks and using them in ways that you need to. So at the end of your workday, you're not then scrambling to restock and order things and all of that kind of stuff. You get to just clean up and leave.
Mhm.
And then the other piece is having an evening transition, especially if you have a partner at home, children at home, you're walking into another environment where people are going to understandably demand things from you and want to connect and attention. Having some type of transition period. So that might be blasting music in your car or listening to a podcast. It might be sitting in your driveway for 10 minutes and doing something. It might be having an understanding with your partner that like, hey, we're going to do a quick check-in, and then we're both going to do our separate tasks that we need to do. And then like later in the evening, we'll come back together and connect. And the difficulty is what this looks like is different for each person. But
Mhm.
the hope is that you can try out a lot of things and find out what works for you.
Yeah. Okay, I love that. I think that that's so important. I feel like maybe ABS connected us because they're like, "Oh, Bobby needs to hear everything that you're saying." That
Really, this is an
transition.
intervention.
Yes, literally. This was actually, it's not even being posted. Like this is just for me. No, I relate a lot to what you're saying, and especially that transition of time home.
Mhm.
Where in my role at the school, it's just my office is just nonstop with, and it can
Yeah.
be like a problem, or it can just be like hey, we just wanted to come talk to you. And I
Mhm.
want to be available for all those things. But when you're not showing up in your best, and when
Yeah.
you're like agitated, and nobody wants to come across that way. That's what I think is, because then you beat yourself up for coming across that way and all of that. So it
Yeah.
sounds like to me, it's a lot of like preparedness. Like from what you're saying, it's a lot of like getting things organized so that there's not chaos like when
Mhm.
you're getting ready and all of those things, to kind of set up and prepare for your day before. I love all of that. I think that that's also great. And I know that you put a lot of your tips and tricks on social media. So talk to me a little bit about what that looks like for you. How do you decide what content you're putting out? And I definitely want to hit before we go where we can
Yeah.
follow you. But tell me a little bit about your social media presence.
Yeah. So, one of the things that therapists do really poorly is taking all of the great research and knowledge that we have and sharing it in a way that is bite sized, that people can understand. And that's freely available because not everyone has the resources to go to therapy. Not everyone has the time to go to therapy. And oftentimes, it might be like professors who are doing research who are sharing this information in a way that like a person out in the world has no chance of ever comprehending what they're saying because they're using like a lot of high level jargon, just as I'm
Mhm.
sure in your industry you have a lot of specific terms that I would be like, I have no idea what this means whatsoever. And that inspired me to want to create a YouTube channel, which I would say that's where kind of my main um, tips and tricks are. I'm on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. I love both of those, but as everyone has probably realized through this, I'm I'm a little wordy when I talk, and fitting what I have to say into like a minute or 90-second video isn't exactly my strong suit. When I set out to do my YouTube channel, I wanted to give people a foundation of what acceptance and commitment therapy was, because I think ACT is a really helpful therapy for a lot of people, but it's something that not a lot of people know about, even though it's been around for like 40 years at this point. It's not a sexy therapy. It hasn't had its like big trend wave happen yet. And so I wanted to give some clear information about what that would look like, some basic knowledge about what do you look for if you're looking for a therapist? What is allowed? What isn't allowed? How do you know when you're done with therapy? And then once I set that up, my goal was really to think about, okay, what are the common themes that my clients struggle with? And I tend to work with clients who, anxious, perfectionist, high achievers, folks who have very kind of busy minds, have really high expectations of themselves, and fall into this pattern of, as you had said, like pushing yourself, wanting to make everyone happy, getting frustrated, getting overwhelmed, not meeting any of those expectations, getting upset with themselves. And then this kind of like pattern continues, and helping people develop skills and an understanding of, one, why is this happening? And two, what are some things I can do to approach this in a different way?
Mm-hmm. I love that. I think that there's so many people, like I said, that need that. So I love that you're putting that out there. It is funny. I didn't realize it so much. I mean, there are like the people that are really popular
Mhm.
on social media for therapy, but like you're right, it is something that's kind of like kept for you to like go into a session and hear these things, which
Yeah.
is fine, but it also, like you said, not everybody has the resources to do that
Mhm.
and to spend that time. So I'm thankful for you sharing. And what is your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so it's the ACT therapist, so the ACT therapist, and that's my kind of handle for all of my social media. And my website is theacttherapist.com. So I wanted to make it very consistent and easy for people to find.
That's so awesome. Well, we can't wait to check that out. Can't wait to see you at America's Beauty Show. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm so grateful that we got to talk. And I'm gonna come into one of your classes. I'm really excited for it. But also I cannot wait to like see your recap of ABS. Like I'm so excited to talk to you about the show and just like your experience at the beauty show. I'm really excited. So thank
I'm
you.
so excited. I can't wait to see you in person at one of my
Yes.
classes, and hopefully other folks who are listening or watching, who are going to ABS, which I highly recommend, should pop in on one of my classes.
Yes, and the classes are listed on the website, so everyone can look and see what room you're going to be in and what time you're teaching, so that they can check that out too. So thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you all for watching and listening. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel so you can see more upcoming episodes and watch us and listen on Beauty and Style Network. Thank you so much. Bye.